tomorrow.
And a most important ANZAC Day. You see, it's almost crept up on us this year, hasn't it? And what concerns me is that many historical experts and social commentators said that never before and never again will we see the emotion and sense of occasion as we saw around ANZAC last year and in fact the previous 5. I've got to say, in principle I'd like to say that's complete and utter bullshit, but there is that risk that ANZAC Day may one day, once again, become not much more to the general population than a public holiday and a reason to have a day off, a beer and a game or two up with your mates. Geez, you'd hope not. But it will happen if we allow it to. I mean, I remember the early 80s. I was standing in a video store in Cessnock. Go in a video. I remember the store. I remember the day. And I'm standing there trying to decide between a couple of films, probably Friday the 13th Part 2 or Animal House or something stupid like that. And I can hear a marching band out the front of the store. And I walk out to see a bunch of old men with war medals marching down the main street in front of only a handful of half-interested onlookers. It looked sad. And I knew what I was watching, but I didn't understand the significance of it or the sacrifice of the men wearing the medals as they wearily made their way down Vincent Street. Lest we forget. I mean, our times have changed. The way we celebrate ANZAC Day and our serving soldiers in the last 25 years has been nothing short of magnificent. We're better educated, we're more aware of what it represents, and to those who snub their nose at it and say it's nothing more than a celebration of war, I say no, it's wrong. For me, it's a recognition of sacrifice, of saying thank you to those who were and are brave enough to fight for this country, and to acknowledge the fallen, and to acknowledge the sons and daughters, grandchildren and the loved ones of the fallen, lest we forget. We must maintain the discipline of recognising ANZAC Day in the manner of which it deserves to be recognised. Those who the diggers fought for in far-off lands and their sons and daughters certainly haven't forgotten. I mean, particularly the people of Pozières, a village in the north of France, where the ANZACs fought the Germans in a horrific battle. It's where historian Charles Bean wrote that Pozières is more densely sown with Australian sacrifice than any other place on earth. 23,000 Australian casualties. You know, 2 friends of mine and their wives 5 years ago were in Pozières. They went into a little busy restaurant that night, and where in the great French tradition the waiter was as rude as he could possibly be, until he learnt they were Australian. At which point he turned excitedly and he addressed the patrons of the restaurant, explaining they had a table of Australians in their presence. At once, the restaurant stood and gave my friends a hearty round of applause. Their only achievement being Australian. A year or two later, 2 young Aussie boys from Queensland are driving through northern France and pull into a service station in Pozières. They fill up their rental car, go in and get a couple of cans of Coke, a packet of chips, and they walk to the counter to pay. And as they hand over their credit card, there's a problem. The old fella behind the counter refuses to take the credit card. They try to rustle up enough cash, but he bluntly refuses that as well. He can't speak English, they can't speak French, but it's clear there's a problem. They get a tap on the shoulder from a fellow behind them in line, and he explains in broken English. He refuses your money because Australians don't pay here. Again, their only achievement being Australian. Lest we forget. I love Eric Bogle's song, and the band played Waltzing Matilda. It provides an incredible depiction of war, of sacrifice, of ANZAC. It's uplifting and it's tragic. And Bogle wrote it in the 1970s when ANZAC Day appeared to be dying. It really did, or at least on the wane. And the last verse is a warning. Here's how it goes. And now every April I sit on my porch and watch the parade pass before me. And I see my old comrades, how proudly they march, reliving old dreams and past glories. But the old men march slowly, their bones stiff and sore. Tired old men from a tired old war. And the young people ask, what are they marching for? And I ask myself the same question. And the band plays Waltzing Matilda as the old men still answer the call. But year after year, more old men disappear. Someday no one will march here at all. It's our duty to make sure that never, ever happens. Have a great ANZAC Day, lest we forget.
The Turkish shell fire was so terrific that the lines used to get busted up as bursting shells. Then the only communication was that's where the word runner was born. I was a runner. Yeah, you had to take down an urgent thing about demanding some more help or more reinforcements or more ammunition or more or come up and bring back some of the wounded. It's all mostly done by runners. Now, the runner's life wasn't a happy one because, you see, you couldn't make time following down zigzag trenches to protect yourself. You had to hop across the top, and you're in full view of the Turkish snipers. And the average life of a runner in those days was about 24 hours before they were knocked. I got missed so many times I couldn't name it. It annoys like, it sounds like a bee flying past, whizzing sound, you know. Of course, the one that hits you, you don't hear. They were marvellous shots. They could knock anything, 1,000 yards was nothing. And that's a long way away.
Better shots than you were?
In many cases, of course, we had some good shots. They all became snipers on our side, but I would say the average Turk, I remember, he was a much more dangerous man on his aiming his rifle than the average Aussie was.
Up a little earlier than might be comfortable. We move out into the darkness, into the cold, and we make our way to memorials across the country. We stand together and we hear words of tradition and the last post being played. Each year we endure the small degree of discomfort to bring home the memory of those men who otherwise boarded boats and headed off to enemy shores. I have seen war, I have taken lives. I have lost mates and those that I was supposed to bring home. But I cannot imagine what those men faced on those shores of Gallipoli and their lives beyond. ANZAC Day carries many different meanings for many different people. And in a world where we continue to focus on the surface, to look for differences in race, colour, gender, preference, pronoun or otherwise, ANZAC Day must be that day where we look back into the past and remember, through the example of those brave few, what truly defines a person, their character and their actions each and every day. Because on that day, brave Australians from all walks of life renewed their daily contract to the service of our country as they strode forward into certain peril. And while thousands were lost on that first day, thousands more continued forward, past death and destruction that we could only imagine, and they faced willingly, so as we may never have to. My name is Heston Russell, and I stand here as a veteran and direct descendant of ancestors that have fought in every war that this country has been committed to. My great-great-grandfather Edward fought for our country in France in World War I, and his son Percy in World War II. My grandfather Graham Joe Lee fought in Korea and Vietnam, and this is the first ANZAC Day I spend without him after his passing in December of last year, and it is his medals that I wear on the right of my chest. My father Mark served our country in Afghanistan and Iraq, and I also fought in both those countries, only at different times in our nation's history. ANZAC Day for me is certainly a day where I pause to reflect on the service of those who have gone before us and those who continue to serve. Because it is in that service that unites us with a common bond of selflessness, inspired by the sense of purpose that is impossible to replace. Purpose that readily took us beyond any fear, except for that of letting down our mates or our country. And I miss that feeling of being truly inspired. Not for the savagery of war or chaos, but for truly and perfectly being aligned in mind, body and spirit with those around me. I never took enough time to speak with my grandfather and tell him of when I had seen the ANZAC spirit alive and well. When I lost one of my very best over there in Afghanistan, on those lands far away, and watched on as our men fought through for a purpose so strong that it still inspires me today. Many of us have been sent to fight overseas and many more have not, but they still signed up to serve and stood ready. True courage is dedicating yourself to face uncertainty, to pledge yourself to those around you, to stand there or even alone. And while we don't give out medals for moral courage, it is more of that courage that we may well need more of today. Take a moment today to draw on the spirit of our ANZACs and be inspired to find courage in every form. To the veterans here and watching at home, thank you for your service. Service never leaves us, no matter how much time has passed. So it is our responsibility now to draw on our shared experience, to be inspired by our ANZACs and be the custodians of their spirit. Let only our character and our actions define us now and each and every day. And let's lead by example and do what needs to be done to be worthy of their legacy, to renew our daily contract to our nation and its people, lest we forget.
Battalion, I was a signaller in that. There was 12 of us responsible for the communication side of it. We landed on the beach and tramped up into a little valley, Shrapnel Valley it was named, with good effect too. The Turks had that constantly under shell fire. However, in the dark it was fairly quiet. We could hear a lot of rifle and machine gun fire going off further up the hill, but we just lay back on our packs, and our first casualty occurred. It must have been a stray bullet. I don't think that it could have been a direct shot from long range, but one of the fellows in the next tent to me, I heard him call out, and he got hit in the groin. And by the time they could stop the flow of blood, he was dead, you see, because one of the main arteries was cut through. So that made us realise then that things were really getting serious.
Were you very afraid? Were you afraid?
Oh, yes, yes. Oh, well, it was... You had to really get making yourself harder and harder in your attitude. You know, in the tent, there's a picture here of me in the tent, in that camp at Black Boy Hill. There's 12 in the tent, and most of them never came back out of that 12. Those earlier battles, the slaughter rate was terrible.
Once the jolly swagman camped by a billabong under the shade of a coolabah tree, and he sang as he watched and waited till his billy was, "You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me, waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me." And he sang as he watched and waited till his billy was, "You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me." Down came a jumbuck to drink at the billabong. Up jumped the swagman and grabbed him with glee. And he sang as he stole that jumbuck in his tucker bag, "You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me, waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda, you'll come a waltzing Matilda with me." And he sang as he stole that jumbuck in his tucker bag, "You'll come a waltzing Matilda with me."
Melbourne streets march thousands of diggers of the Australian Imperial Force, and the city turns out as one man and one woman to cheer them. Marching in the new formation of threes, the troops swing along past the base at Parliament House, where His Excellency the Governor-General, Lord Gowrie, takes the salute. An interested spectator is the Prime Minister, Mr. Menzies. In the heart of the city, they're taken to the hearts of 500,000 citizens, in the skyscrapers as well as the streets. The biggest crowd in Melbourne's history, this, and there's been no greater occasion, acclaiming the new digger who's yet the old digger all over again. For every soldier that marches, there's a farewell committee of 100 enthusiastic people, and it's just too bad that some can only see with the aid of mirrors as periscopes. Now the crowd grows wild. It presses forward in great waves to shake the diggers by the hand, to slap them on their backs, to kiss them, lucky beggars. Being kissed to death is a real fate for a hero, so long as it's not the Sergeant Major. No longer is it a parade. It's an onward march of the people, carrying its soldiers with it on the flood tide of patriotism.
The advance of Australian forces over ground just evacuated by the Japanese when Kokoda was recaptured and the enemy driven out. An observation post used by the tree-climbing Japs. Artillery brought up an inch at a time by muscle power through the jungle ravine known as the Gap. These guns were flown by fortresses from Australia to Port Moresby, then in sections by smaller aircraft, and finally hauled into battle through country such as you see here. Jap wounded left to die by their comrades are brought in by Australians out on patrol. These are sidelights from the Owen Stanley mountain area. By driving the Japs out of the Gap, down to the plains and back to the sea at Boona, the immediate threat of a battle for Australia was averted. The success of this operation is as important a victory as any elsewhere in this war. Swamps, jungle fever, deadly insects and reptiles, tropical heat and meager rations. These are some of the hardships which have to be surmounted while fighting. The daily dose of quinine comes by air. It's not asking anything out of the ordinary to extend to these magnificent Aussies our unstinted admiration. We welcome these pictures from New Guinea. They tell us things we should know as fully as we see how things are shaping in other parts of the world. Take a look at the map in the region of Milne Bay. Ships of all shapes and sizes squeezing alongside the docks, with supplies which have to be sent into the interior the hard way. Have to move cautiously because isolated parties of Japanese are still resisting and have to be mopped up. Some of the hardest fighting was experienced here. It was a well-organized attempt to take Port Moresby, 200 miles away. All the paraphernalia of a force designed for rapid penetration. The late owner of the bicycle is now with his ancestors. The bayonet is more or less orthodox, but the bulletproof vest is a Tokyo novelty. The steel lining seems to be more for bullet deflection than a direct hit free. The respirator is just cheap and nasty. Two-toed rubber shoes are used by snipers for tree climbing. No praise is too high for the RAAF Kitty Hawk fighter squadrons. Men back from Milne Bay say that the fighter pilots had it all over the Jap Zeros. Now perhaps you'd like to meet some of the men who swept Jap air opposition from the Milne Bay skies. Jap invasion barges now stranded on the shore with holes punched by cannon shells showing in their sides.